Hey everyone, it's Reilly with another all English episode. So it's officially spring. I mean, it's actually been a little bit cold in Kagawa recently. Especially this week has been colder than last week, I think. But, you know, the flowers are out. Sakura, if it's not in full bloom, mankai, then it's pretty close. I'm not sure what the exact date is, but to my eye, it looks like the flowers are pretty much all blooming. And in fact, yeah, this Sunday, I'm going to a Hanami / gender reveal party. One of my friends is having a baby in August, as I think I've mentioned on the podcast maybe a couple times. But yeah, so I think it's going to be a pretty big Hanami, maybe 20 or 30 people, he said, are coming. So yeah, we're going to have, I guess, a normal Hanami plus, I guess, celebrate the future birth of my friend's baby. And I think more than previous Hanami parties I've been to in the past, I think a lot of people will be bringing kids. It'll be a mix. Like his wife is Japanese, so I guess a bunch of her friends and their kids will be coming along with, you know, kind of our friends. The husband is Canadian, so a lot of his friends are, you know, English teachers, English speakers, and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I hope everyone else has done or will do Hanami somewhere in the near future. But yeah, for this episode, I'm going to be talking about what we do in spring in the US. Yeah, so I guess, Instagrams. My Instagram is Reilly Sullivan XD, and Sota's is Eigo no Sota. So yeah, without further ado, let's get going. Okay, so yeah, American springtime. The kind of closest thing that relates to Japan is that actually in where I'm from, in Maryland, or pretty close in Washington, D.C., there is like a big cherry blossom event around this time of year. I think the cherry blossom trees were donated by Japan at some point. I don't remember the actual history there. But yeah, a lot of people, I would say probably mostly Asian people, maybe not all Japanese, but maybe Chinese and Korean people and what should I say, Chinese Americans, you know, people of Asian heritage who live in America are the people that go there the most. But I think, you know, a lot of people who live around DC go to the city to look at the cherry blossoms. I've done it just once, I think, if I remember correctly. And it's not as fun as I think it is in Japan. There's not as many like picnics and things going on. But yeah, that's kind of, I guess, more of a Japanese thing that kind of got imported to DC. But as far as like American things, I think the biggest spring event or holiday is Easter, which maybe a lot of you have heard of before. So Easter is a Christian holiday where, you know, the actual reason for the holiday is because Christians believe that on Easter, which is I forget exactly the timing. Sometimes sometimes Easter is in March, sometimes it's in April. It's a Sunday. It's like, I forget exactly the timing. It's 40 days after a different holiday. So you could maybe tell that I didn't really grow up a practicing Christian. I didn't go to church as a kid or anything like that. So I'm not so clear on these details. But I think, I could be wrong, but I think the holiday that starts the kind of Easter time is called Ash Wednesday. I think that's right. I could be wrong. So sorry if there are Christians listening, don't get mad at me. But anyway, there's a holiday in, you know, I guess what it would be, whatever, February maybe or something like that, usually 40 days before Easter. And then for those 40 days is a time called Lent, when Christians, I think especially Catholics, are supposed to give up something. So something that usually it's something you enjoy doing that might be like a little bit bad for you. Like it could be eating junk food or drinking alcohol or something like that. And you're supposed to not do that for the 40 days of Lent. And then at the end of Lent, there's Holy Week, which there's a bunch of different names. One of them, I forget where it falls. Mardi Gras, or Fat Tuesday, I think it's called. I forget if that's at the beginning of Lent or at the end, but that famous holiday, Mardi Gras or Carnival, I think is the same one, that the big one in Brazil, or also in Venice has a big carnival. I think those are all the same Fat Tuesday. But then, anyway, there's Good Friday at the end of the week, and then Easter is always on a Sunday. And so if you're a Christian, then you go to church on Sunday, and it's actually the most important Christian holiday of the year, because it is the day when Jesus came back from the dead, right? So, he was on a cross for 3 days, and then on Easter Sunday, he rose from the dead and, went up to heaven, right? But for me as a kid, Easter was not really about Jesus. It was more about candy. So yeah, on Easter, most American families, they have what's called an Easter basket. So it's usually a basket. There's usually like fake grass, like plastic grass in there, maybe some flowers or some other kind of like spring decorations. And then you get a bunch of chocolate, mostly chocolate, but sometimes other candies too. There's one weird Easter candy that I never really liked. It's called Chicks. And they're like these marshmallow, they're like yellow, they're chick shaped, which is like, a baby chicken. And they're like yellow marshmallow candies. And like I said, I never really liked them. But then you get a lot of chocolate too. If you get a nice Easter basket, you get like this big chocolate bunny, like it's chocolate in the shape of a rabbit. And that's because another tradition is the Easter bunny. And the Easter bunny, I don't really know how it started, but it's like a rabbit that's somehow associated with Easter. I guess maybe because it's in the spring and rabbits come out more in the spring, like babies and stuff like that, or whatever. Yeah, and then there's also sometimes you might see like Easter bunnies in like a mall. Maybe you've seen like a mall Santa, where a man dressed up as Santa Claus around Christmas time is in the mall, and kids can go and like sit on his lap and ask for presents or whatever, right? Sometimes you might see somebody dressed up as an Easter bunny, like usually it's a white rabbit costume, and then I guess kids go and the rabbit gives them candy or something like that. I don't remember if I ever did that, but it's a thing that I've seen in movies and whatever, stuff like that. And then also there's Easter eggs. So a lot of time if you get together with your family, especially if there are kids, then one activity you do is someone in the family hides a bunch of Easter eggs around, the yard or in a park or something like that. And then the kids, and the eggs are usually, when you're hiding them, they're usually like plastic eggs. And they often have like candy in them, like little pieces of chocolate or something like that. And so kids run around and they look for all the Easter eggs, and then if you find the most, you win, or you just get the most candy, something like that. Sometimes there's like one special Easter egg that has like a better prize in it, maybe better candy or like money or something like that. And yeah, I might be connecting this in my head, but something tells me that the Easter bunny leaves the Easter eggs. And I think that's the story. At least growing up, that's what my family always said, that the Easter bunny puts the Easter eggs around the garden or the yard or the park or whatever. But obviously that doesn't really make sense, because rabbits, bunnies don't lay eggs. So I don't really know what the connection is there. There's another tradition with Easter eggs where you decorate an Easter egg. So you make like a boiled egg, a hard-boiled egg, and then you paint the outside of the shell in some kind of decoration. Usually, kind of like spring colors, pink and purple and maybe light green, light blue, that kind of thing. And maybe some families hide those Easter eggs too, but usually for me, they would be two separate activities. You would hide plastic eggs with candy inside of them, and then you would decorate the real eggs, the hard-boiled eggs, maybe later in the day or something like that. And then, yeah, for me, that's pretty much what Easter was. Sometimes I would get together with like more of my family, aunts and uncles, grandma and grandpa and stuff like that. But a lot of the time, because our family wasn't very religious, we would just hang out as a family, my mom and dad, my sister and I. But a lot of families do get together in bigger groups. Easter often goes along the same time as spring break, which is, obviously in America, the school year doesn't end in March, and doesn't begin in April, but still kids often have a spring break from school around Easter time, end of March, beginning of April, something like that. And for college kids especially, spring break tends to be a time for them to go on like a trip to somewhere warm, like Florida is the most popular one, I think. Especially, actually, the town where my dad lives in Florida, Panama City Beach, is like one of the most popular spring break locations. So kids, college students, I guess they're technically adults, will go to spring break and, party on the beach or in the water, drink a lot of alcohol, the kind of things that college kids do when they're having fun or having a party or whatever. Another maybe not so fun part of spring is spring cleaning. A lot of people, maybe around the spring break time or just in the spring in general, use that time to kind of clean their house, do the big yearly cleaning of the house. In Japan, it's usually done around the New Year time, but in America, it's more common to do it in the spring. Then there's also another holiday that happens is Memorial Day, which memorial, you maybe can tell, comes from memory. So the idea is it's to remember the soldiers, American soldiers who have died in various wars, over the years. So on Memorial Day, you often see a lot of American flags. Some people even visit graveyards, cemeteries, especially, I guess, if they had a family member who died in a war. But even if they didn't, it's common to go to a cemetery to kind of pay respects, we say, to soldiers, stuff like that. Especially, there's a very big cemetery near Washington, D.C. called Arlington Cemetery, where a lot of soldiers are buried, or if not buried, like if, soldiers died in the war and their bodies weren't recovered, then they have like kind of a memorial to all the soldiers that died in various wars over time, But for most people, I would say going to a cemetery is not the normal thing to do on Memorial Day. A lot of people have a barbecue or have a picnic or something like that. So Memorial Day it's in May, and it's always a Monday. I forget if it's the third or the fourth Monday in May. So actually, Memorial Day is like the very end of spring. A lot of people consider Memorial Day to be kind of the beginning of summer. Like one thing is like some people say that wearing white clothes, especially like white pants or white shoes, is something that you can start to do after Memorial Day. So like at the end of May, you're allowed, I mean, it's like a fashion rule. It's not a real rule, obviously. Then it's kind of okay to wear white pants or white shoes or something like that. And then, but also, a lot of people have picnics around Memorial Day or barbecues or something like that. An American picnic, it's typically sandwiches, like small kind of bite-sized sandwiches, people have potato salad, macaroni salad, maybe a real salad, with like lettuce and stuff like that. And yeah, maybe fruit, that kind of, I don't know, that kind of food, I guess. Yeah, and then I would say drinking at picnics is kind of a contrast with hanami. Drinking is not so common at picnics in the US because, most places, I would say almost all places in the US, you can't drink outside. It's illegal. Well, you can't drink in public, right? So if you're in a park or something like that, then you're not allowed to drink. I would say some people still do. Some people probably have beer or maybe wine at a picnic if it's in a park, but it's not nearly as common as it is in Japan, I think, because of that law. But, if you're just having a picnic in your yard, in your backyard behind your house, then of course, yeah, people would probably drink. Or if it's a barbecue, most barbecues happen at someone's house, then yeah, there'd be beer, maybe wine, but beer is the classic. Yeah, other than that, I think that's kind of the main spring stuff in the US. I mean, I guess also people might start gardening in the spring. You might, plant flowers and that kind of stuff. If you have a garden in front of your house or in back of your house, whatever, I don't know, that kind of thing. But yeah, for the most part, I'd say those are kind of the big Easter activities or Easter events that happen. So I think I will leave that episode there. So yeah, thanks for listening. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.